Bulls Nation, a few days ago, I talked about DeMar DeRozan and what he could bring to the Chicago Bulls if, for whatever reason, he decides he wants to play his career in Chicago. He wants to play some of his time in Chicago. And now we're going to be looking towards some point guards, and more specifically, his partner in crime, the person that is always going to be linked with, the person that will end up being a very solid part of his NBA career, and that person is his right-hand man, Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is someone that is very interesting to discuss. In the end, we're going to be talking about him in this video and what he could bring to the Chicago Bulls and the likelihood of that happening for the Chicago Bulls. So without further ado, let's talk about Kyle Lowry and let's do it in this video. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today, we've got a Chicago Bulls related video, and this one is more free agent talk and more discussions about players that could come into this team, potentially not, and see what they could do on this team and if they make us a better player. And today's video, we'll be discussing Kyle Lowry, a point guard for the Toronto Raptors, known as a Toronto Raptors icon at this point, won a championship with the Toronto Raptors, is kind of aging at the end of the day and leaning towards some of his declining years. But do the Chicago Bulls want to pursue a player like Kyle Lowry? But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Kyle Lowry. Is that someone that you want to consider as a Chicago Bulls player next season? And overall, do you think this makes the Chicago Bulls a better team? The first thing I have to say in terms of Kyle Lowry is that it's very easy why he's linked to someone like the Chicago Bulls. It's very easy why people see Kyle Lowry as a viable option for us, because he brings what we need. In the end, we need to have a lot of targets in the point guard position, and Kyle Lowry suits us to a T in terms of what we need out of that point guard position. We need someone that's a solid playmaker. Kyle Lowry is a solid playmaker. We need someone that's a gritty defensive player. Kyle Lowry is a gritty defensive player. We need someone with playoff experience. Kyle Lowry has playoff experience. We need a veteran guard. Kyle Lowry is a veteran guard. There's many reasons why he is suitable to the Chicago Bulls. His season stats for the 2020-21 season, he only played 46 games this year. He averaged 17.2 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, which is very good for a point guard, 7.3 assists, again, solid playmaker Kyle Lowry. And in the end, there's no question Kyle Lowry makes us a better team. Kyle Lowry suits us to a T, as I said before. The only issue is, are we going to be willing to pay some money? I would think some hefty money as well for a player that could potentially be on the decline. And that's something we're going to talk about. But what would he bring to the Chicago Bulls? He would become an instant fan favorite, in my opinion, if he played for the Chicago Bulls. Again, teams like Philadelphia, teams like Chicago, teams like Memphis, those types of teams love the gritty, grind players. Love players who are going to get down and dirty, play some solid defense, get under people's skin, and they will be loved for that. And he's done that for Toronto, and he would do that for Chicago as well. I don't think that side of the game will go anywhere for Kyle Lowry until probably the end of his career. I think he's going to be that type of player for the rest of his career. He'll instantly become a fan favorite, and he will make this team better. Not only will he make this team better, but again, he would help the point guard position dramatically, which is something that we need. He fits our needs, and he'll help Kobe White, in my opinion, as well, 10 times over. I think him coming into this team would help Kobe White more than Lonzo Ball coming into this team, because Lonzo Ball would probably come here for the long term. Kyle Lowry is probably not a long-term player, but would probably help Kobe White dramatically in the time that he does play in Chicago. And that could definitely be a good thing for a player like Kobe White to learn from a player like him, a veteran, playoff championship experience type of player that knows what to do at certain points in the game, knows how to do things the right way, and again, will be a very solid NBA player in this league, probably for a long time to come. But that's what Kyle Lowry would bring to the Chicago Bulls. Now let's talk about the off-season side of things. Is he going to be someone that the Chicago Bulls pursue? Is he someone that's going to make us better? Is he someone that's going to, in the end, demand a lot from the Chicago Bulls? And is there a potential for this to happen? Well, in terms of his, I'm not really sure if he's actually a free agent or not. I don't know his contract situation. But last season, or this, again, it's still this season. This season, there's been a lot of talk about Kyle Lowry going to a variety of teams. The main two teams that really come up is Miami and the Philadelphia 76ers. And you can understand why Philadelphia was mentioned. Again, there are many teams that will be out there looking to try and sign Kyle Lowry. But in the end, the question is, what does Kyle Kyle Lowry want to do? Because I think whatever Kyle Lowry wants to do is going to be the key here. If Kyle Lowry wants to come to the Chicago Bulls, I think the Chicago Bulls would be more than happy to sign a player like Kyle Lowry. But in the end, the likelihood of Chicago Bulls signing Kyle Lowry, in my opinion, is very slim. Because again, it's up to Kyle Lowry what he wants to do. He's that type of player. I think he's earned the respect from Toronto. He's earned the respect in the league to go where he desires, and he can be an instant impact player for many, many teams. And unfortunately, out of every single team that's been mentioned with Kyle Lowry, the Chicago Bulls have not been a solid pick from that. And he's not really been mentioned in terms of the teams that he wants to go for. So the only real reason we would get Kyle Lowry is if A, whether the teams that want him can't get him. 2, even if the teams that don't want him, he still doesn't want to be in Toronto. And 3, he suddenly wants to commit to the Chicago Bulls. Those are the 3 ways that we're going to get a player like Kyle Lowry. In my opinion, it's very unlikely transfer, a trade, or free agent signing. It's not something that I think the Chicago Bulls can do. But in the end, with many players in this free agency market, with many players in terms of the point guard position, we need to have our eyes and ears open for every single player. And Kyle Lowry is one of those players. We need to be tentative. We need to be aware of the situation with Kyle Lowry, because again, there's always a chance, like with Nikola Vucevic, we were very aware of what the Orlando Magic wanted to do for their future, and we took advantage of the Orlando Magic because of that, and we took their best player because we were very well aware of the situation in Orlando. We need to be very similar in the situation we are with Kyle Lowry and the Toronto Raptors, and that could be a way that we can get our hands on Kyle Lowry. And again, I've already mentioned how positive he'll be towards this team, and again, the negative side of the game, or the negative side of Kyle Lowry, is his age. He's 35 years old. He will be on the decline sooner or later. I don't think this year could be the first year where we see Kyle Lowry potentially on the decline, even though I don't think so. He did miss a lot of the season this year, and this could be a potential short-term signing, and that could switch the momentum only for the short term. But again, do the Chicago Bulls want to be looking long-term with these players? Is Kyle Lowry a viable long-term option for this team? Is he someone that is able to be at the same level that he is right now over the course of 3-4 years, maybe even 2 years at least? And that's the risk with Kyle Lowry. But again, high risks, high rewards. In the end, the Chicago Bulls will have to take risks in order to get where they need to be, as do many teams. As teams like right now, aspiring for championships, the Brooklyn Nets took a lot of risks, and they ended up getting 3 MVP caliber players on their team, and they're looking very dangerous right now. Obviously, the Milwaukee Bucks took a lot of risks and got rid of half their roster to acquire a better roster, and that's something you have to take risks for. The Chicago Bulls need to take risks, and Kyle Lowry could be a risk that maybe could be worth taking, or maybe it's a risk that won't be worth taking. But in the end, there's a risk there, and there's an opportunity there for a player like Kyle Lowry to come on this team. I don't think he'll be asking for too much either. I don't think he's going to be asking for a whole lot of money. I don't think his contract situation will be too drastic for the Chicago Bulls. I think he's definitely a player that's affordable. But again, with Kyle Lowry, those are the risks, and that's what he can bring to the Chicago Bulls. He's a playmaker. He is someone that will be a viable, respected playmaker on this team. In the end, Kobe White is not as good as he was in the last month. He's not a viable playmaker on this team just yet. Kyle Lowry will be a viable playmaker on this team. He will limit the stress of Zach LaVine. He'll be able to make open shots. Again, he'll space the floor. These are the things that really help. And of course, we already talk about the gritty work. We are already one of the best teams in terms of taking charges. Kyle Lowry fits right into that mold, and he will be able to take charges as well for the Chicago Bulls. Very good things that comes out of Kyle Lowry. And I don't think there's too many negatives besides his age and the risk involved with his age that would scare the Chicago Bulls away. So the question is, obviously, do we want to do this? I think the Chicago Bulls, if there's a chance, we would want to do this. Does Kyle Lowry want to join the Chicago Bulls? I think that answer is no. I don't think there's a likelihood of this happening. I think if there's any team that he goes for outside of Toronto and Philly, it would probably be Miami. But I think his ultimate destination might be the Philadelphia 76ers. And I think that could be where the story ends for Kyle Lowry. I think he wants to kind of end his career in Philadelphia. Again, he's from Philadelphia. That makes the most sense in my opinion. But again, Can they keep him? That's the question. That's obviously the answer we're going to be looking for in the offseason. I'm going to end this video here. It's a little bit of a shorter video. In the end, there's not really too much to say about Kyle Lowry. We all know what he brings to the table. He's been a veteran for a long time. We all know he's a capable player. We all know he's an all-star level player. Even this year, I would say, arguably, he's an all-star level player. And that's the type of player that we could be bringing into this team, or that we should be bringing into this team. In the end, let me know in the comments below your thoughts about Kyle Lowry. What are your thoughts about him and the potential the Chicago Bulls should bring him in? I do think it's unlikely. So all those people saying, oh my goodness, why are we talking about Kyle Lowry? We're discussing free agents here. We're discussing viable options in the point guard position. And I'd be a fool not to talk about Kyle Lowry in terms of the point guard position. No matter if he wants to come to this team or not, he's still a viable, capable point guard in this league that could potentially be obtainable for any team that really tries to go for him and a team that he wants to play for. Those are things that are very important. Those are things that should not be ignored. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Have a wonderful and safe day, Bulls Nation. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Once again, if there are any more players that you want me to discuss, please let me know in the comments below. I do have some players in mind that I want to discuss. But again, everything is on the table right now. We have a lot to discuss and we have a lot of time to discuss it in. The playoffs are still happening. Not really too much time in terms of free agency. We're going to have to wait and see what the Bulls do and the rumors that are involved around the Chicago Bulls. Take care and peace.